It's got it. I love it. I love it. Well, good afternoon, team. Happy Wednesday to you. August 26th already. My gosh. Time flies when you're having fun, right? We're at the cusp of the end of the month, and before you know it, we're going to be in September. So thank you guys for being on the call. We got some great stuff to provide you guys today. We have our legal department giving you some updates as well. So let's wait a few more seconds to allow more of our agents to jump on the call. So how's everyone doing? Thumbs up? Everyone doing good? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I see John, I see Joanne, I see Jesse, I see Chris, Patricia, see Yona, Luke, Farah, Nick and Sue, Bryce, Kathy, I see Wendy, Holland, awesome. All these phenomenal people. Who else? It keeps bouncing. Jeremy's here as well, so thank you for being on the call. Heather, thank you as well. If I miss anyone, I apologize. James, I see you. Thomas, or Tom, I'll be reaching out to you shortly after the sales meeting, Tom, so thank you for being on the call. I see Ray. How you doing, my man? Good to see you, brother. Thank you for being on the call as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So who is going to volunteer and give us our mission and value? Okay, who wants to step up and provide our mission and value before I start picking someone? Come on.
Okay, I will do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for stepping up and doing it. So let's do this.
Keller Williams South Bay will become the #1 brokerage across all brand in the South Bay and a top-tier market center within KWRI by attracting, creating, retaining cappers through our positive and productive culture. As a result, we will profit share over $500,000 annually. Woo!
Love it, awesome. Thank you so much for stepping up, Rosie. You did phenomenal. KW South Bay's value: 1, caring; 2, collaboration; and number 3, business building. Awesome. Thank you again, Rosie, for stepping up. Next slide, please. All right, guys, our Command Your Database contest, guys, it's still there. We have less than a week. What's today, the 26th? So that gives us, let me look at my calendar. That gives us till Monday, guys. Monday to submit your command and participate on our winning drawing of a $250 gift card just for adding 50 or more contacts and doing one smart plan, guys. So you guys have the time. Do so now, and you'll be entered to win a $250 gift card, guys. So I'm rooting for all of you guys. As I mentioned in the past, you can reach out to us, Scott Leroy. If you don't understand how to do it, we're here as a support to navigate that and get you into this contest, guys. So remember, the time frame is August 31st, guys. That's the deadline, and before you know it, it's going to be here around the corner, which is Monday. All right? All right, next slide, please. All right, so Mega Camp, guys. Mega Camp 2020, it's going to be a digital experience. Prepare for a Mega Camp like no other. Made for these unprecedented times, guys. The event would range from global keynotes to intimate virtual breakout sessions. It's everything you love about Mega Camp with the convenience of, remotely from home, guys. You don't have to go to Austin, Texas. You don't have to worry about flight or hotel reservations in the comfort of your home in front of a computer, guys. So take full advantage of this, guys, because it's going to be the first time, but it's going to be a mega phenomenal event, okay? Registration is open now, guys. I believe it's $119 to register, guys. Typically, this would be around $700 to $800 just to register on top of flight and hotel stay and food. It's a 3-day event. Take advantage of it to really help you take your business to the next level on technology, and also be able to hear Gary Keller, live and in person, you know, giving the state of the union, or the company state of the union, what the direction. So there's going to be so many phenomenal updates that Gary and the entire organization will be providing us. Okay, next slide. So one of the things that MegaCamp has done, it's going to be more of a personalized welcome. It's going to have customized personal profile to enjoy the network, which will be in similarity in interest. It's going to be utilized, and maybe Sonia can touch on this, it's going to be the magic of artificial intelligence. All they have to do is answer, you're just going to have to answer a couple questions, guys, and they'll be presenting you with a potential connections with automations involved. So this artificial intelligence will give you a perspective. You're going to put in just a few questions, and it's going to connect you with other agents that have the similarity of interest, and it's going to give you that power of networking without actually being there physically. It's there's also going to be a team huddle, a AM and a PM as well. Attendees may choose their platform interaction preference as well, and have they'll also be preferred to follow up with other attendees and the exhibitors as well. So it'll give you a good perspective and the connections with other like-minded people. Let's say on a breakout session, you want to know a little bit more of database. So you'll be connected with all those people that are interested in knowing how to input more into your command and database, and you'll be able to connect that way. So it's going to be a phenomenal experience, and that's, again, once you register for MegaCamp, guys. So I'm very looking forward to this event, and you know, the connections that we can definitely make without physically being there. All right, so register soon, guys. $120. It's a good investment for a 3-day event.
Yeah, I'll just add that they are going to give this platform to everyone who registers for 60 days after the event. And so what it actually will be is they will have follow-up items for the next 2 months from there. And what you're talking about, what Simon's talking about in terms of the the artificial intelligence, it's just going to be like basically suggesting things to you that you might be interested in based on what you've selected. And it won't take you to somewhere like, for instance, you know, it's not going to suggest things to you that are just totally not on your radar at all. So it's really interesting. The other stuff that you see on, for instance, on this little screen here, if you can see barely, but it says career info is one of the tabs. And so what's interesting is KW has been working on a career map for us for the last few years. And it sort of exists already in KW Connect. But what's, you know, if you don't have to just be an agent your entire life if you don't want to, if that's not your main goal, if you have other interests. And there are so many positions in the company that you can grow yourself to, whether it's in coaching or training or technology or whatever interests you. I mean, it's basically, you know, there's just so much opportunity. So they kind of provide an opportunity map. So if anyone's interested in any other career development items, you can also do that. You know, that's what MegaCamp is for also. So
beautiful. Thank you for adding that to it. Yeah, it's definitely something new, but very exciting to see how all this gets developed in the next several weeks, you know, so good stuff, guys. Thank you, Sonia. All right, let's continue. Next slide. All right, our September 2020 Ignite. Here are the instructors for the Ignite program. So we have Sonia starting it off with Ignite Your Business. We have Mr. Ho Chung, Build Your Business. Gary doing Find Your Business. Myself, Win with Sellers. We got Aaron doing Price to Sell. I will be also doing Sell Your Listings. We got Christopher Borum doing Win with Buyers. Our very own Bob Walaka will be Find and Show Homes. And Chris, again, make and receive offers. Kim Mosley, negotiate the deal. I love that, that session. I used to teach that all the time, so she took it away from me. I will be doing close the deal, and then Sonia will do the Ignite blast off and graduation. So there's your instructors. Anyone and everyone is invited, even outside agents. So invite anyone that's interested in building their business, taking their business to the next level, and really getting systems in place and how we can ignite your business. So looking forward to it. It'll be coming up next month in September, guys. All right, cool. Next slide, please.
Hey Simon, when you said bottle of vodka, I swear you said bottle of vodka.
That does sound like it, right? Bottle of, yeah.
I was like, our very own bottle of vodka is teaching? What?
Malacca. Bottle of what? Yeah, you know what? That may be a slogan for him. Is he on this call? If not, I'm going to pull his leg on that one. That is funny. Awesome. All right, the August calendar and September calendar is for you as well, guys. Take advantage of all the classes that we have. Sonia's classes, my classes, sales meeting, obviously every Wednesdays. Will eventually revert back to 12 o'clock sales meeting. We're only doing 1 o'clock due to Bold, and I think there's going to be another time frame where we're going to push the time because of Mega Camp. But take advantage. We just finished Mo Anderson's. We're going to be starting Traction. It's every Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. I know Sonia has Miracle Morning Club. Here's some great stuff about it. So take advantage, guys. This is the opportunity to really just plug in with the office. Next slide, please. All right, Sonia, take us away. Tip Wednesday, multiplying your business with referrals.
Yeah, okay, so this is, you know, you guys know that we have the referral network, so this is kind of a plug for that, but at the same time, in terms of business building for this year, so we have 18 weeks left in the year, technically, if you look at them. Clearly, you're not going to be working 7 days a week. And of course, holiday time, who knows what your plans are or if you're taking any breaks between now and then. So when we're growing our business or we're trying to goal ourselves for the rest of the year, you know, I would offer this. How many of you remember the promise script? Anybody? Say aye. The promise script, okay? So the promise was from Bold, right? And it's basically asking for the referrals before you get into conversation about the listing agreement with somebody. And basically they just say, okay, if I'm going to provide this amazing value, then will you be able to give me a review? And a referral is 1 and then 1 review. And so if your goal, like let's just say that you have to still close 9 deals this year, right? You could just focus on going on 3 listing appointments and attempting to get those listings. Go after 3 listings. And if you ask for a referral from each one of those people, you might that's your multiplier right there for your business. Just something to think about. Like sometimes the numbers just sound so crazy if it's, you know, we are up against time. So the referrals are the multiplier. So I'm going to put the promise script here for you in the chat box so you can go ahead and download it from there. What I can also do is I'll put it on the Facebook page for you so that if you guys are listening on the phone, you can get it from there. But it's just getting in the habit of asking for those referrals. So how much easier would it be to just go for the 3 and then really focus on getting the referrals and the reviews, and your transactions will be that much warmer and you'll get those reviews in as well. So that's there for you guys. Secondly, I hope you guys all saw the email about Twilio. So Twilio is the text messaging service that we're using with Command. If you haven't set it up yet, you're good. There is going to be a setup email that you'll have gotten probably maybe a few times already, but the old way of Twilio is going away and the new way of Twilio is coming in, which actually means that KW has made us a better deal. So we're going to get all of the same stuff except for like about 17% cheaper. And so the text messages are already so cheap. They're like $0.07, I think. So like, you know, not even a penny, or 0.07 cents, sorry. Yeah, they're not even a penny each. So it's very inexpensive. I send a bunch of messages out every single day, and it hardly reloads my $20 ever. So that's already there. If you have a Twilio number connected, you can either use that number, but one of the things that they're doing is, you guys know they were giving us those like Austin numbers, right? Or Texas numbers. And everyone's like, why do I have to have a 512 number? People are not going to answer my text messages. So now you're going to be able to, you can either keep the number you have, or you can very easily select a local number when you set up that Twilio. So you can have that 310 number, and Keller Williams is paying that subscription for you. So you don't have to get your own Twilio account. It's already there. All right, so just keep your eye out for those. If anybody needs any help with Twilio, I'm happy to do a training on that as well, but it is so handy when it's just going out on its own, right? Like if you're setting up birthday messages or anything like that, this thing will just text it out to people, right? And just on that note real quick, I can't remember if I told you this tech tip, but you can add your Twilio number to your own contact card on your phone. That way, when people get messages from you, they're not gonna go, who is this? It's gonna say, oh, maybe Sonia is texting you, right? So you can add it as a secondary, like a work number or something on your cell phone into your own business card in there. Alrighty, so questions, let me know. The script is there, and then I will put it on the Facebook page too, and that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sonia. Good information. I downloaded the promise script as well, guys. So it's on the chat box right now. So just download it into your computer, have it, utilize it to help you with your business. All right. Let's go next to our next slideshow, which is the new listings. So let's go. Next slide, please. So Adam has a new listing in the city of San Clemente, a beautiful home. It's listed for $1,099,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,427 square feet. If you have any questions, please reach out to Adam. Next slide, please. Heather Bernard has a new listing at 26037 Oak Street, Unit A in the city of Lomita. It's 3 bedrooms, 3 bath, 2,056 square feet. If you have any questions, please reach out to Heather. Next slide, please. Allegheny has a listing in the city of Torrance, 2023 West 162 Street. It's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,479 square feet. Beautiful corner home. If you have any questions, please reach out to Allegheny. Next slide, please. Tony Mascati has a listing, or excuse me, a lease listing in the city of Torrance, 2605 Sepulveda, Unit 322, 2,500, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,191 square feet. If anyone is looking for a lease, reach out to Tony here in the city of Torrance. Next slide, please. Aaron. Is Aaron on the call? Let's see if he wants to pitch it. But he has a listing in San Pedro, 1414 Brent Place, Unit 344, listing price $428. It's a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,085 square feet. If you have any questions, please reach out to Aaron. Aaron, you want to touch anything on this listing?
Yes, we'll be actually presenting offers on that. Ooh, that looks weird. Hold on. I'll be presenting offers on that tomorrow. We have some offers already, but still available for viewing.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. All right, next slide, please. Teresa Workman has a listing in the city of Redondo Beach, 323 South Broadway, Unit 5. It's listed for $799. It's a 2 bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,158 square feet. If you have any questions, please reach out to Teresa Workman. Next slide, please. Teresa has another commercial lease, 1322 Post Avenue here in the city of Torrance. It's a 3,200 square foot commercial lease. You have any questions in regards or have any clients in regards to a commercial lease here in the city of Torrance, please reach out to Teresa. Next slide, please. Mr. Gary Nix has a listing in the city of Carson, 19403. How do you say that word? I can't even, Brocatus Avenue? It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2647 square feet. Beautiful 2-story home in the city of Carson. So if you have any buyers looking in the city of Carson, guys, there you go. Gary Nix, keep it in-house, right? Reach out to Gary. Next slide, please. Mr. Eric Basket has a listing on the city of Gardena, 1849 West 148th Street. It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, I would say, 1,000 square feet. Listing price is $589. So if you have any questions in regards or have any clients in the city of Gardena, reach out to Eric Basket. Next slide, please. Derek has a listing in the city of Redondo Beach. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,826 square feet. Beautiful home. Anyone interested in the city of Redondo Beach? There you go. Derek has a listing. Okay, reach out to him. Maureen Lee has a listing in the city of Gardena, 15322 Jasmine Lane, Unit 107. Its listing price $599,990. It's a 2-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,240 square feet. Anyone interested in the city of Gardena? There you go, guys. We have a listing for Maureen Lee. Next slide, please. Maureen also has a listing here in the beautiful city of Torrance. I think this is South Torrance, 23315 Suzanne Avenue. Listing price is $1.3999990. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,684 square feet. Any questions? Have your clients interested in the city of Torrance? There you go. Beautiful listing in the south part of Torrance. Next slide, please. All right. We'll do the needs and wants after, guys. Let's jump in. You know, we're on a crunch time. So we got Marty from Broker Resource Law Group. So Marty, are you on the call?
I am indeed. Good morning, everyone. Am I unmuted?
So talk to us. What do we got going on? I know we're talking about evictions.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute to get our slideshow rolling.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Okay. So Simon asked us to come back, as we've done every few weeks, to give you an update on stuff that's specific to the ever-changing pandemic market. So I'll flash up our email address and telephone number on this slide. We'll put it on our last slide as well, just to remind you that as you encounter transaction-related legal questions, don't hesitate to call us. We're here for you and happy to help. Okay, so the good news is that over the past few weeks, we've had a relative stability in showing guideline rules and revisions to the CARP forms and this constant churn of what we have to keep up with for showing properties. But one of the things that we've seen on our hotline has been a rising surge of complexities driven by the closure of the unlawful detainer courts. So I wanted to give you an update on where that stands, and then really put an exclamation point on where it is that those complexities arise in your residential purchase and sale transactions. Because it's not just a problem that's limited to landlords. It's just not a problem that's property managers should be sensitive to. There are a number of places in your discharge selling properties where it's very useful to know these rules and provide appropriate guidance to your clients. Okay, so the background is when the pandemic first roared into full bloom back in April, one of the early measures taken by the state of California was the Judicial Council closed a number of courts. And one of the courts that was closed was the Unlawful Detainer Court. So that is the court where landlords go to seek redress when they have a tenant who has breached a lease, a tenant who needs to be evicted, and even where you have squatters or trespassers who need to be evicted. And when I say that the courts were closed, it wasn't just that all hearings and trials were taken off docket and postponed until a later time, but the court clerk's office was not even issuing a summons. So a landlord who finds itself in conflict with the tenant and needs to escalate to get the assistance of the courts would find that they couldn't even begin the process of getting the wheels of justice to turn. So that freeze remained in place until just under 2 weeks ago. So on August 13th, the Judicial Council met again. Initially, they were planning to open the unlawful detainer courts the next day. But in a last minute push by the legislature, so leaders from the Assembly and the Senate reached out to the Judicial Council and the Chief Justice and said, can you make your announcement today, but keep the courts closed until September 1st, because we are still working out the bugs on a mammoth piece of legislation that's going to address not just landlord and tenant rights, but also mortgage forbearance. So the rights of property holders who are not able to make their mortgage as a result of pandemic-related circumstances. So the Chief Justice agreed, the announcement came down that the courts will remain closed until next week. But the legislature apparently is racing to have something released by next week that will close off the courts to a lot of landlord-tenant actions. So where it stands now, the package passed out of the Senate Judiciary Committee last week. It looks like they're going to meet their timetable. So we're going to have something big and new on the horizon within the next few days. In the short term, landlords can't go to the unlawful detainer courts whenever they're having conflict with a tenant or, for the most part, with a trespasser. Okay, where does that come into play? If you are brokering a sale of, particularly of an income property where there's a tenant in place already, or where you are handling a sale where the parties are contemplating the seller staying in possession after close of escrow, either through a short-term, the one-page form, and we'll go through the various forms over the next few slides, or for a longer 30-plus day residential lease after sale. We strongly recommend that you memorialize your advice to your own client, that it behooves them to talk to a landlord-tenant attorney who can game out all the things that can go wrong so that they have an appreciation for how their expectations might be frustrated or delayed. So we have created a form for that. The link is here on the screen. We're going to drop it into chat in just a second as I move to show you the pre-printed form. So for those of you who took our residential leases class at the beginning of the year, this looks very familiar. It's similar to the advice when you are brokering a lease listing that you give to your landlord client, particularly if it's a single family residence landlord who this may be their first time going through the process of renting a property. But this is a variation of that form that advises them specifically of the types of conflicts they can have with a tenant and asks them to take a moment to figure out who their attorney is, and in the best of all worlds, share that person's name with you so that if a problem arises later in the transaction, you can very quickly loop them in. So this is the form. Again, Nicole is minding the chat and will drop it into the chat bar.
Thank you. Thank you, Marty.
Okay, sure. Okay, so what are some of the permutations? Let's start with the classic one that could create real frustration to sellers and listing agents, even pre-pandemic. And that's the seller who has a tenant on the premises. And they've had conversations with the tenant where the tenant said, either the tenant has given some sort of notice saying they're planning to vacate, or the tenant is, very frequently you may have the tenant over the garage apartment who is a cousin or a friend who the seller says to the listing agent, don't worry about cousin Bobby. I've had the conversation with cousin Bobby. Cousin Bobby will be out. Let's move forward with the buyer using a standard RPA with no modifications. Now, when you use the standard RPA, it says pre-printed that if there is a tenant on the premises, the seller is committing to delivering the premises vacant 5 days before close of escrow. So if seller enters into an RPA, and let's imagine that it's a 45-day close of escrow, what the seller, if there are no modifications, the seller is bound by the language that's in the screenshot here with the arrow drawn to it. So property shall be vacant at least 5 days prior to close of escrow, and if the seller can't comply, the seller will be in breach, and the damages for the buyer will begin accruing. So even pre-pandemic, we had sellers who didn't think through this process, listing agents who didn't really flesh out the danger to the seller, and perhaps the result was a transaction with the seller commitment to vacancy that when they discovered that cousin Bobby wasn't going to go quietly, the seller couldn't meet. So the seller in breach, the seller with damages being owed to buyer, and very frequently the seller blaming the listing agent for not alerting them to that. All of this is magnified with the courts closed because, as you can probably imagine, that it's not just that the seller, pre-pandemic, the seller had to run out the necessary notice periods and then get a hearing and then get a court ruling and then get the sheriff out to remove the tenant. Now that component where you're waiting for your hearing is frozen and of an indeterminate length, at least through next week. And we're expecting to see some sort of continuity after the legislature steps in. So be aware that it—
Marty, I have a question. Is that September 1st?
September 1st, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So next week, if the legislature has not finished its work, next week, the courts will be reopening. Now, even there, LA County has an eviction moratorium where the seller may not evict the tenant as a result of failure to pay rent for pandemic-related reasons. And there hasn't been a lot of testing of that language because the courts have all been closed, but that will be another layer of complexity. But September 1st is a big date. For now, we're wanting to set the expectations with our sellers. That's going to be very hard to deliver on a commitment to deliver the property vacant at close of escrow if the tenant doesn't go quietly, if the tenant doesn't go voluntarily. Now, the flip side of this is if the seller says, whoa, I can't commit to that. Buyer, do you want the property? If so, you take the tenant and you finish up the process of getting them removed on whatever timetable the law and the court openings will allow. And the format for that is, if you start with the basic RPA, the parties will augment it with a one-page CAR form called the TIP, the Tenant in Possession Addendum. And here's what the TIP looks like. And it basically puts all the onus on the buyer. The buyer takes subject to all existing tenancies, and then the buyer even if the buyer intends to own or occupy, the buyer deals with that process of trying to either convince them to move voluntarily or to await the reopening of the court and to get a sheriff's order to remove them. So there, if you are the you're representing a buyer, a lot of buyers will choose this, but as long as they're doing it with their eyes open, that they realize that there could be a prolonged period where they're waiting for the property to be available for occupancy, and that might mean a stay at the local Residence Inn, and maybe a prolonged stay at the Residence Inn. And as long as they're fully informed, everybody gets the benefit of the bargain, and nobody's going to be blaming you. All right, and then yes,
Marty, sorry. I just what in terms of the closures for courts, what are you seeing? Like, are they doing a little bit of something, or are they just like not doing anything, or what's happening with that?
So there are a variety of different units within the court system, and initially a number of different courts were closed in April, including most criminal courts. Over time, individual courts have been open. Most of the superior courts for general purpose litigation are open again. But the unlawful detainer division has been frozen since the beginning of April. So for that particular category of landlord-tenant disputes, now there was a carve-out. There was a carve-out in the original freeze order that said landlords could still petition the courts in the event that there was a matter affecting public health and safety. But we're not aware, and I was on a call with a number of the broker defense attorneys who are regularly brainstorm with CAR a few weeks back, and nobody in that call or on the CAR legal hotline had yet heard of a successful landlord who had achieved a tenant removal based on public health and safety. So for all intents and purposes, landlords who want the tenant out or the squatter out, so the seller who remains after close of escrow and is a trespasser / squatter, that whole court system that you would go to get them removed, to get the sheriff's order, just hasn't been open. Again,
Awesome.
hopefully we'll have some relief next week, that even if there are more hurdles to jump through before a landlord can evict a tenant, hopefully at least for the squatters, it's called a forcible detainer action is the name of the subcategory, where you might get somebody who's just staying impermissibly, where there's not a question as to whether they still have a tenancy. Which leads me to, pardon?
Thank you so much for that clarification.
Sure. Okay, I was about to segue to the next category, but just the other place where you see this idea of the tenant on the premises, and maybe the buyer wants them out because the buyer intends to own or occupy, is if the property was written on the residential income purchase agreement, the RIPA. And you'll see that the default is that all of the tenancies will be undisturbed, the possession is delivered subject to them, even if the buyer intends to occupy a unit as the buyer's primary residence. But here's another place where you might have a buyer expectation that I was planning to move into one of the units of the triplex, and later it turns out that that's going to be problematic. Just as long as in this case, the buyer's expectations are set that they may have to have a short-term living arrangement for themselves while they wait for the courts to open, if there's a problem removing the tenant. Okay, shifting to the other end of the spectrum. So we're brokering the sale of a property and there is no tenant. There's just a seller who, in entertaining 25 multiple offers with a large amount of bargaining power, insists on being allowed to have a few days after close of escrow to clear out. Now there are two different formats, and there's a date trigger that you'll see within the CAR purchase agreement for which form gets used depending on how long the seller is going to stay after close of escrow. So let's start with the long form first, because it's the most dangerous. For possession of 30 days or more, the RPA will direct the parties to attach the residential lease after sale, the RLAS. When you click on the RLAS, you'll see that it's 5 pages long. And when you hold it side by side next to the residential lease, the Form LR that some of us are familiar with, it looks virtually identical except for the header. And one of the things that does is underscores that once you get over 30 days, the presumption is that the buyer is probably going to have a tenant on the premises, or that they will be treated by the law as a tenant, and everybody should proceed as such. And the mere length and format of the RLAS is sort of a bucket of ice water in the buyer's face, accentuating that warning that there, that various tenant protections could add to the complexity of removing the seller if at the end of that, let's assume it's 35 days, seller isn't gone. So now you have a seller who's characterized as a tenant, who may be able to invoke pandemic protections of, I am a tenant who is encountering unique pandemic-related circumstances that make it hard to move. Just a whole lot of complexity once you hit the 30 days. So when representing a buyer, be acutely aware of the differential between 29 days and 30 days, because 29 days will come, I'll come to that format in a second to see how that CAR form bends over backwards to say, this is not a tenant, this is just a license for possession. So let's look at the RLAS first. Here's page 1. And again, if you look at the bottom of the page, it's page 1 of 5. It looks virtually identical to the residential lease. And again, for the shorter term, 29-day or less possession, the form is the SIP, Seller License to Remain in Possession Addendum, explicit that it does not create a tenancy, and that if seller doesn't vacate after close of escrow, seller is a trespasser. Here is that form. It's just 1 page. It sort of sets out the minimum amounts of rent or security, and who's responsible for things like utilities and insurance. Okay, so so even there, the buyer should, you'll want to have your conversation with the buyer that a seller staying even 15 days after close of escrow, even though we are, our forms are bending over backwards to say this is not a tenancy, the court where we would need to go to get this trespasser removed may not be open, and it may create hurdles even for that buyer. Now, this is not unique to a holdover, a 15-day, 20-day, 28-day holdover seller. You can have this brand of friction even with a garden variety RPA with no alterations, where there was no tenancy and the seller was supposed to be out at close of escrow, and then, this is a situation we had last week, the seller just notifies the other side a day before, I'm not moving. What happens there? Well, even pre-pandemic, the painful truth and the rule that the agent needs to know to keep the buyer from going off the rails is that the buyer can't take matters into their own hands. That the way to remove even a seller who committed to be out of the property at the end of close of escrow is via the sheriff. And so we go in.
So Marty, what you're saying is we can't go and relock the doors and everything and tell them to get out.
Yes, that flips the script. Even though, exactly. So even though the buyer is angry and the moving trucks are loaded and the kids are screaming and they have to make motel or hotel arrangements at the last minute, the buyer still, at the end of it all, is going to have the upper hand, because the seller will owe them damages. And if the problem persists for long enough, for the damages to hit the Superior Court maximum, the buyer's going to get an attorney, and the seller is going to end up paying the buyer's attorney at the end of it. And 10 months from now, the buyer is going to at least feel like justice was on their side. If the buyer takes matters into their own hands and begins rekeying the locks, throwing things out, damaging the seller's property, engaging in fisticuffs on the front lawn that are recharacterized as assault, suddenly the buyer's in a world of lawsuit hurt where the seller is the one suing them later on. So it's so tough. But the caution to the buyer is always, let's do our best to ensure that the seller knows how painful this will be if the seller doesn't move quickly to get out, but you, buyer, can't take matters into your own hands. So there's actually a nice letter in the CAR sample letter library for that, that I wanted to draw everybody's attention to. It's called the DSV, Demand to Seller to Vacate. I'm going to put it on the screen here. You know, a lot of agents are not familiar. There's a library within ZipForm called CAR sample letters. So normally when you open ZipForm, you're going to see CAR forms, and you're never going to click on this button to change the libraries. But if you were to do so, you'd get a drop-down menu, and one of the libraries is the sample letters. So one of the sample letters is this DSV, and it's specifically for this scenario where the most vivid, the buyer's moving trucks are out front and the seller is just not out. It's a letter that goes from the buyer's agent to the seller, walking through all of the damages that the buyer will be able to recover against seller for their breach, in hopes that this will get the seller's attention and speed up the process of them vacating. And it also does a great client relations service of, you know, your buyer doesn't want to hear that you don't have a magic wand, and doesn't want to hear you saying to the buyer, hold off, whatever you do, don't go try to take the law into your own hands. So by having a pre-printed letter courtesy of CAR, it helps keep the buyer settled that there is a pathway and that the pathway involves the courts. That said, now you see where all of this is coming to greater complexity. If the courts are closed, the buyer who never envisioned having to get a landlord-tenant attorney could still find themselves in one of these scenarios where they're having to get a hotel, and hoping that these communications, you know, starting with this pre-printed one from CAR, maybe they then get an attorney to ratchet up the intensity of the threats to seller. And usually pre-pandemic, you know, we have seen variations of these, and a lot of the agents I imagine on this call have seen the seller who takes an extra day or an extra 2 days. And it's a real rarity. I can't remember a seller who was still dug in 7 days later. They eventually get the message that they're really shooting themselves in the foot with a mounting series. You know, that bill at the Residence Inn, as well as PITI, as well as all the expenses that the buyer is incurring, are going to come back as damages along with the buyer's attorney's fees. But in the current environment, if you have one of those over the next week or so, and hopefully we'll have better news after next week, when the new statute is finalized and hits the books. But in the short term, just making sure buyer is aware that this is one unfortunate complexity driven by the pandemic, and we're all going to try to work through it together. Now, if you have one of these scenarios, do not hesitate to call. So if you are the buyer's agent, or even if you're the listing agent who has a seller who won't listen to you, and the seller's not vacating at close of escrow, don't hesitate to call BRLG. We can not only point you to the letter here, we can script you in your dealings with the various parties, and we can even step in, depending on whether the seller is dug in.
Very good.
All right. I hope I didn't run over our time. I did want to put up on the screen here, our next formal class, our standalone class is called Avoiding Listing Pitfalls. We're going to focus on when you're wearing the listing agent hat, some very common, very high dollar, very scary mistakes that can easily be avoided that you will want to avoid, and that many agents are tempted to step into the pitfall. So I'm gonna drop this registration link into the chat after I turn the screen back over to Simon and leave you guys with our contact info.
Marty, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for providing us with valuable information. You know, just like you mentioned, it's all gonna depend September 1st, right? What's gonna happen, the outcome of all this. So I'm hoping that it's on the positive, courts start opening up, evictions start happening, just because a lot of tenants are taking full advantage of it. You know, some I can understand, but some I just cannot understand. And unfortunately, who's getting the blunt of it is the owners of these investment properties.
Yeah.
So. Very cool. I just want to share my my screen real quick, guys. What Marty was saying, I'm old school. I use the traditional desktop version of Zip Forms, so it just, for me, it just works a little better. And you can still, it'll sync with the online version. But I just want to share my computer real quick, guys, and show you that what Marty was saying is also on your desktop version as well. So bear with me here momentarily. So if you have the desktop version of Zip Forms, all you have to do is basically, can you guys see this? Can someone say yes?
Yes.
You go to the library section right here, and then you click here, and you can go down where it says car samples. You go there, you release the alphabetic, and it gives you all these different types of letters and scenarios, you know, abandoned personal property, acknowledgement of non-tenancy, demand seller to perform before close, and reservations. So it has a lot in Zip Form. And the California Association of Realtors, you know, updates these twice a year. Some are taken, some are revised, and new letters are added to it, just like Marty was saying. And again, this is the desktop version of it, but it's the same. You just go to your library section, find sample letters, click in there. I know there's also like foreclosure, preventative library as well. And it gives you some forms regarding that as well. So it's some good stuff, guys. So just wanted to share that with you guys. All right. Okay. Yeah, Marty, so thanks again. I appreciate the valuable information, and we're right on time, just about 2 o'clock. Any needs or wants, guys, before we pass it over to the affiliates? Anyone have any upcoming pocket listings that they want to pitch? None? Okay.
I do actually. Hi, everyone.
Oh.
This is Heather.
Hi.
I do have a listing coming up. It's a condo in Torrance. It's on 23206 Sesame Street, Unit D. It's going to be listed at $360. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and 700 odd square feet. So if you have any buyers, let me know. I'm going to be listing it tomorrow. Thank you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Heather, how did you get that listing?
So my husband actually works for a moving and storage company. He helps run it here in Torrance, and he just happened to ask the right questions. And originally this seller, she was thinking about leasing, but then I showed her a CMA with the comps, and she changed her mind and said, actually, I think I want to list it. So it worked out pretty well.
That's awesome. Hey, we might need to get your husband into real estate. I know we were talking about that. We might have to get him sooner. That's
Definitely.
awesome. That's awesome.
I'm all over it. I'm all over it. Don't worry. And have him trained.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you, Heather. Anyone else?
I just wanted to know if anybody's coming up with a townhome in Redondo Beach, 2 or 3 bedroom, a freestanding, or maybe one wall or 2 walls in between 2 places, townhome in Redondo Beach, maybe North Redondo, for no more than 1.1 million. So if anybody has something coming up, let me know.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rosie. All right. Anyone else?
Tom Callahan.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, I've got a listing coming up next week in North Torrance. It's 2509 West 178th Street. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, mostly remodeled, 790. It's in the coming soon on the MLS.
Beautiful. And how did you get this listing, Tom?
It's a probate I've been tracking for a long time.
Beautiful. Awesome. Congratulations, Tom. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Going once. Going twice. All right. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and let the affiliates just do a quick hello shout out. You got 5 seconds, guys. 5 seconds. I'm going to track you guys. All right. So let's start off with, let me see. Who do I see in front of me? I see Wendy Holt with Snap NHD. What's up?
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Just wanted to let you know Snap NHD is here to help you with all your NHD orders, as well as your tenant report that you can order for free through snapnhd.com. And also, don't forget, I have my Monday classes at 10 a.m.
Sorry.
Thank you. Someone's in the back. That's cool. Don't forget, Wendy Holt with Snap NHD.
Thanks, Wendy. Appreciate it. Zoom, I can just imagine the parents right now with school starting. It's probably very frustrating, guys. So
you have no idea. Oh my goodness.
I can imagine. All right, I see Nicole here. Nicole,
Hi.
5 seconds.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Nicole Romero with Pacific Coast Title. Great to see everybody. Great information. I have Title Tuesday each Tuesday, so I'm sending it out to some of you. If any of you are seeing it and are interested, we go over our tools, also pertinent tools out in the industry. We have guest speakers come in. So Title Tuesday each Tuesday, 1:00 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Nicole. I see here Mindy, my NHD. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Simon. I appreciate the opportunity. Great information, Marty, as always. I want to remind everybody, it's really good to get your natural hazard disclosure report when you get your listing. You don't need any money up front. If you're in a fire zone, it's real important to get that insurance in place. Just to give you an example, Malibu in March, before the virus started, was costing over $100,000 a year for fire insurance, if you can even get it on the property. I have a contact that's fantastic. He was able to get that same property's insurance all the way down to $40,000 a year, which sounds really expensive, but not when you're in a very high fire severity zone. So right now, please do not skimp on an NHD report. If you're the buyer's agent, write it in your RPA. That's why my NHD is the very first drop-down box in your zip forms. No lawsuits for 26 years. I want to keep it that way. So stay safe and be careful out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mindy. You went over your time, by the way. Awesome. Thank you, Mindy. Appreciate it. All right, Joanne, how are you? I think you're muted, so let me unmute.
Hi guys, Joanne, Orange Coast Title. Have a great Wednesday. I don't want to keep you. I'm here if you need anything. I'm easy to reach, 993-5656, 993-JoJo. Bye guys.
All right, thanks, Joanne. My man,
Thanks,
Ray.
Simon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. Ray, Elite Home Inspections, how you doing?
Doing good. Thank you, Simon. I just want to go over something real quick. I'm going to go over the 5 seconds, but listen, we're in the climate we're in right now. I'm seeing such short contingencies when it comes to inspections. It's absolutely ridiculous at this point. I had a client last week call me and said she had no contingency. The listing agent told her she had Monday at 9 a.m. She has 3 hours to do the inspection. Guys, I highly recommend having your clients fill out the buyer's waiver inspection form, section 4. They're not saying they're waiving the entire inspection. It's saying that we prepared the inspection report. They're just denying any further inspection. So I would honestly consider that, guys. So just to protect yourselves.
Beautiful. Awesome. Good information, good advice, Ray. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Anyone else that I'm missing? Any affiliates on the call? All right. Should I do a quick contest, guys? Is that a yes?
Yes.
For a chance to win a $25 gift card. How many people we have on the call? I know it dropped from originally.
40. There's 40 people here still.
All right, so 40 people. So here it is, guys. Here's for a chance to win a $25 gift card. You guys ready? It's going to be easy. And the seasoned agents, I want to say don't participate because you probably know the answer to this. I'm kind of hoping that the newer agent or someone that hasn't really looked at the RPA will not be able to answer this question, but here it goes, guys. So it's simple. It's on your residential purchase agreement. So the answer